Okay, here we go with another video. Utility maximization and demand. So we want to look at deriving an individual's demand curve. So we look at price decline in one product makes that good's ratio of marginal utility to price higher than before, encourages more spending on it. Take, for example, the pizza from the last video. If the pizza is $2 and the marginal utility is 10, then the per dollar utility is 5. But if the price of pizza drops to $1, now the per dollar is 10, and that would encourage me to buy that slice before the brownie because I'm getting more bang for my buck, so to speak. Right? And the utility maximizing condition therefore results in a negatively sloped individual demand curve. So we've looked at, this is why the utility is going to have the downward sloping demand curve, because as the price falls, we're getting more for our money and our satisfaction is greater. Then we take, now we all have different preferences. Calix loves his pineapple on his pizza. I don't, but we can all put that together and we can come up for a demand for pizza in the market by taking all the individual choices. Okay? Market demand curve is made up of individual demand. Then we have what is called the substitution and income effect. A price decline for a product makes that product relatively less expensive. A price decline for a product effectively makes the consumer of that product richer. So when the pizza is now costing $1, my $10 budget can now buy me 20 slices, where before it could only buy me 5 slices. So I therefore have more real income because of the decline in price. We do this imaginary exercise where we say, okay, hold the budget constant, then what would we do when the price falls and how much would they buy? And that would be the income portion of the change. But there's also the substitution effect, right? As the price falls, I'm buying less of another good, or I'm substituting now pizza instead of getting the brownies, right? And that is the change because of the income compensated price change, all right? And then we have the graph. So what's happening is, as the price falls, I'm substituting pizza for brownies, right? I'm not having the brownies, I'm having the pizza because the price dropped to $1. So that's moving me from 5 to 9, but I'm also richer, so I'm buying more, and that moves me from 9 to 12. So I'm having two effects here. We have the substitution and the income effect, and both of those are showing you why the demand curve is downward sloping, right? Along with the utility maximization, right? Okay, normal and inferior goods. So substitution and the income effect reinforce each other in the case of a normal good. I'm not going to go through these. The normal good, price goes up, your income goes up, you buy more of it, right? What we really want to focus on is how this, with the inferior good, consumers will substitute more of the inferior good for other goods because of the substitution effect. When the price of an inferior good falls, the lower price effectively makes the consumer richer, so they purchase less of the good through the income effect, right? Which is kind of odd, right? So now the inferior good's cheaper, but I'm buying less of it because I have more money. So instead of buying that slice of pizza, I can buy an extra brownie, so to speak. Okay, and the substitution income effect work in opposite directions for the inferior good, right? And that's what we have. We have the substitution effect pushing us from Q1 all the way out to here, but the income effect brings us back. So the substitution effect has a great push out, and then the income effect will bring us back. We're still at a greater quantity. We're still at Q2. All right? That leaves us, or brings us to, what we call indifference curves. First thing we need to look at is a budget line, and we had looked at this in an earlier video where we did DVDs and books, I believe, or maybe it was pizza and brownies again. It seems to be the common theme. All right? So inside this area here, below to the left of the budget line, we're not expending all our money. Outside to the right of the budget line, we're spending more than we have. All right, and then we have this indifference curve. The reason it's called an indifference curve is because point Y, point X, and point W all get us the same satisfaction. So we are indifferent to the combinations. X gets us, Z gets us more satisfaction, but we don't have the indifference curve here. And U would get us less satisfaction. Right. We have what's called the marginal rate of substitution. When I wanted to add 1 day of horseback riding, it originally cost me 2 days of skiing, right? So the substitution effect was 2 days, was 2. Then as we come down further, we're down here. I add 1 day of horseback riding. It only cost me 1 day of skiing. So the marginal rate of substitution is now 1, which is why the curve is convex and not concave like a PPC curve. Okay, so the marginal rate of substitution is why it's convex. All right, now we add up all our different indifference curves. Say that 5 times really fast. All right, so curve B is going to get us the most satisfaction, followed by curve A, followed by curve C. So curve C is the least satisfaction. Okay, and then what we do is we put the budget line in, and we look to see which curve is on the budget line. Curve B is not, so we cannot consume on curve B, so we're not going to maximize the satisfaction there. But curve A is hitting the curve at point X. Curve C is also hitting it here, but we always want to pick the curve that's further to the right and tangent to the budget line, which is point X. So point X gives me 3 days of horseback riding, 2 days of skiing. Would I prefer 3 and 4, which is point Z? Sure, can't afford it. Could I do 4 days in 1 day? Yes, I could afford it, but I wouldn't get as much satisfaction as 2 and 3. And 2 and 2, I have money left over, and it's not giving me the satisfaction. All right. So basically, what you really want to focus on these curves is further to the right gets us more satisfaction, and when it's tangent to the budget line, that's where we're going to pick. Right, so we would pick point X here. And just to show you right here, the budget line, when it was $50, the price of the good was $50, we bought 2 of the goods. Come down to the demand curve, price is 50, we buy 2. When the budget is now 25, or the price is now 25, the curve goes out, we can now hit that curve, and we're willing to buy 4, and again shows you why the demand curve is downward sloping. All right, that's us all wrapped up with consumer behavior, utility maximization, and demand. Okay, boys and girls, see you on the flip side.